Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And let me get that camera a little closer. Anyways, today's topic is my favorite topic, my favorite subject. It is the one thing anyone, whatever it is that you wish to do, whatever it is that you wish to become, it's the one thing that can help you in life, and that is meditation. And I recently started watching this guy um, who is kind of like into extreme like sports, and he was a meditator. His father was a meditation teacher, so at a very young age, he played around with the ideas of meditation. And I was like, damn, I wish I started like when I was 5. And then my intuition was like, you never know what that person's experience is, how far they got with it, you know. And so then I was like, okay, don't worry about it. Just, you know, keep going. You've been at this since high school. Um, so then I didn't worry about it. And then one of his later videos, he like said he did like a 10-day retreat, like, a silent retreat, and they meditated. And then he like had some spiritual experiences. And I was like, see, you don't know where someone's at. I've had spiritual experiences, fifth dimensional experiences my whole life. So, um, so don't worry about it. And then I watched his video on, if you would like to learn how to meditate for an hour, here's some tips. And I was like, okay. And then I'm like, what are your tips? What's your guidance for meditation? And I was like, I think kind of like out of high school, the deprogramming started. You're not forced to go to school and all those routines, and your life is kind of scheduled. It's kind of automated. You're only All you have to do is wake up and obey. Wake up and obey. You do that for 8 hours, and then whatever. And so I think out of high school, not having that schedule, uh, a lot of a different set of spiritual abilities came online, and all sorts of cool, like, mystical experiences happened with ease. Where I think when I was in school, uh, my mind wasn't exactly on that, and then before, like, kind of like, I think high school was the real stressor. So high levels of social stress can really interfere with your spiritual life, you know? Because I think before that I was super spiritual, mystical, curious, free spirit. Then high school, you kind of, stuff happens, and then you spend a long time maybe deprogramming, who knows? Stuff happens. Psychological injuries happen. Um, I don't want to get too far into it, but since I did bring it up, the soul injuries happen at any age, at any lifetime. We carry them forward and backwards in time and into the timelessness. Okay, and I would say a should shaman should specialize in the realm of the soul. And what we mistaken about the mystic shaman is there is a cultural background, there's a system, a spiritual belief system that goes with it. So we might think fans, feathers, and dancing around a campfire, singing ritual languages, talking to ancestors and guides, all that. You can be a practicing shaman or mystic and not believe in any of that or do any of that. And I've said in past videos, shamans uh, don't believe in anything. And it's because they're connected to the source or that level of soul. And so a shaman I would say a well-developed shaman can kind of like break reality. Um, and because of that flexibility, because all things are one, because all, what we talk about in quantum physics about parallel realities, multiple dimensions, creation already created, so all we do is shift timelines and blah, 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 blah. Um, a shaman can kind of do that at ease. They can, and so holding on to a belief system or having to do things one way doesn't really work. You have to be very open minded. Through that flexibility, you can kind of shift, transcend, move as needed, as required. Um, and so that intuitive level, that psychic level, is fifth dimensional and beyond. So, but what does this have to do with meditation? Why do we go on that tangent? You might have some. I would say I would call myself the minimal shaman, and meditation is my ritual. Meditation is my technique. Meditation is my practice. It's the way I sharpen my mind. It's the way I develop all of my abilities. And so all paths are one. And I think meditation's at the center, opening up all the doors to that quantum level experience. It gives you the power to control your mind, shift your awareness, move your awareness, hone your perception abilities, master energy. And so meditation is the key to everything. And so I'm at the point where, well, I can't even say that, but let's just move on. So way back when, I remember reading The Three Pillars of Zen, and I remember reading some other books. And one thing that caught my mind, caught my attention, they called personal meditation as like, is, they gave some, I believe, other, it's called something. Like, it's called, the translation is little boat. And then when you meditate like in a group, like let's say you have a meditation group that you've been working with for maybe 10 years. You guys are all meditating together, you're all in sync, you're all developing with that collective power. That's called the big boat. And so some people take the big boat. And that's really great because if you're at a lower level, it's a great way to, get on board with some people who might be guiding the ship. That collective energy, you can get from point A to point B faster working in a collective group of like-minded individuals. And so meditators that meditate at the same time, the same day, in a on maybe online setting, or they literally go together or sit with a teacher. So this is really the power of group experience. You could be on that big boat, travel a lot of distance, go into deeper or more chaotic waters, um, and survive it. So the little boat experience, a little raft boat probably doesn't do too well out at sea. There's a lot more complications. And so analogy, metaphors, they're very, very powerful. They speak to our mind, they speak to our psyche, and can help us understand big metaphysical concepts in simple ways. So when you look at a boat, it floats on water. And then we did talk about the raft, which is, a lot of people are trying to do meditation, but they have like a raft, they have some logs strapped together, and they may think they're going to the ocean, but they're in rapid waters in a giant river. Or someone else just think they're doing great. I'm the meditation master. I'm like, dude, you're in a pond out up in the mountains. You haven't even begun to go out into the ocean, you know, or you haven't experienced a tsunami, or troubled waters, deep waters, and sharks swimming. So this could be a great analogy for really understanding where you're at. What are your real goals? And so realistically, I'm like, I love my little raft, but maybe I should stick to the pond. And then maybe I need to get out of that raft, get into a small boat, and then go out on a huge lake. And then maybe I need to get a better boat and go out into the ocean. So this is simple logic. And how do we do that? So your body is your boat. Look at it. You might be forced to go in a raft. You might be starting your meditation journey with a broken down. It might have been a great ship at one point, but now it's broken down. So you might need to do some repair work, some practical things out in your daily life. Chop wood, carry water. We see in like the old martial art movies, the apprentice is has some imbalances. They're weak. They have temper problems. They're out for revenge. And then they have to go to the dojo or go to the temple monastery or find the mysterious master. And then he trains them by doing like housework and simple chores, which temper his spirit, but then also teach him technique and how to get back in touch with his body, commune with nature, and then some rigorous hard work. And then he, gets maxed out. And then, and then actually the real training begins. Then the inner battle. So there's many different levels to this game. And you can be realistic and practical and enjoy the journey. So people think, oh, I'm just going to do meditation, and you sit down and you try it for a week, a month, a year, and then you say, oh, this isn't for me, it's no good. I'm like, you don't understand that meditation has no limits, and and is extensive, from that little pond to the lake to the river, ocean. There's water in all its different forms. Requires different ships and requires different. You need to gain your sea legs. So there is physical training. There's mental training that goes into this, and so in a really weird way, this is like a high achieving sport. So I think we get it wrong in spirituality. We'll be like, somehow a really like assertive, goal oriented, overachiever type person. Oh, that's not. You need to be humble. You need to not have this achiever mindset. You shouldn't have all this pride and confidence. Like, be humble, be soft, and somehow you're gonna get enlightenment. Uh, Meditation, I like to think of Japanese sword fighting, the one strike method. If you have to draw your sword, then you better be doing it in such a way, with such a kind of ill equipped shape. Okay? It's heavy, it's long, so the time to draw that blade takes time, it takes skill. It's kind of on a curve, designed to cut things better. So there's a lot of positives and negatives that go with the Japanese type of sword, and same with like the Tai Chi sword. Okay, I have a martial arts background, if you couldn't tell already. But we're just looking at it from a very practical. So if you have to draw your sword, you better make sure as you're drawing, you're killing someone. And then as you're putting away, you're probably killing someone. And so you got to think about efficiency, and so it all of a sudden becomes a yoga discipline all of its own. Mind, body, spirit. Whatever you're doing, whether you're scrubbing the bathroom floors or you're preparing food, mindfulness and the art, the technique of it. So there's harder ways to do things, there's simplified ways to do things. And after a while, there's these shortcuts that become techniques that you would like to use, but we can't use these shortcuts until you've mastered the basics. So when I was going through my martial art experience, I really loved the basics. It's like, martial arts will always come down to a few things. You're kicking, you're chopping, you're blocking, you're punching, you're grabbing, you're throwing. That's about it. And rolling around. And so you might as well spend hours chopping, hours blocking, hours kicking. And this goes, so our third degree, like black belt teacher, um, basically said, he always said, he's like, you know what, if you guys will ever learn to kick like a black belt, I'll give you your black belt right now. Screw all the different levels of the belt ranks and like the 24 techniques that go with them and the 5 forms or katas that go with them. If you can even punch or kick like a black belt, then I'll give you your black belt because you can combine that all together and do all the techniques and you'll be performing at the level of the black belt. So it's like one of my favorite Zen quotes, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Your everyday life, you can look at it as training for your meditation. Your everyday life, you can look at it as your score, how well you're actually doing with your meditation. Because your meditation needs to translate into your life, you know? So I think a lot of people might want to, people are selling meditation, as medicine. They're selling it for mental health, they're selling it for emotional management, they're also selling it to improve in sports and things like that. But the reality, I think, it sells itself. And if you're curious about meditation, you feel called towards it, you're hungry for it maybe, then I feel like you're ready to start meditation. But if you're thinking, oh, I want to do meditation because, I have high cholesterol and I'm obese and I hate myself and I have anxiety and depression and I have things to work out, then I'd be like, meditation will help, but you're working with a raft, okay? You don't even got a boat. And a raft, is logs tied together with some rope. It's going to be functional to an extent, but I would recommend that when you're done playing with the raft, get in a boat, okay? And so it's a whole different ball game. And you're going to be like, wow, that's so much better. My feet don't get wet, and I don't have to worry about the rigging on this freaking little boat. This is so much better. And so I would definitely say if you're having medical conditions, physical, mental, even spiritual, like solas, like we mentioned at the very beginning with shamanism and all that stuff, meditation is going to help, but that door I don't really feel opens for you until you have fallen in love with meditation itself. Then those doors naturally open. So there's a timing to this process, and understand where you're at. Just because, like many people are called, few are chosen, and just because you want it doesn't mean it's time for it. So you may have the desire, but it's not time. Have you ever been like hungry but not hungry? So if you ate, it was too early, so then your digestion would just get wrecked. So it's better to wait until you're super hungry or hungry enough. Then you eat, you enjoy your meal, and your digestion's fine. It's like that. So and I feel like in this kind of like money grabbing, materialistic, life coaching, selling information, people are giving information too early, so it's going to cause indigestion. Or they give it too late, and then it takes so much energy to digest your food, you have to go take a nap and fall asleep. So it kind of throws a wrench in the system. And then things don't work out, and you're like, darn it, I really thought that was going to be my cure. And the answer is yeah, but right timing, you know? So let's start talking about that raft building. You want to learn how to just meditate for 3 days? I feel like you need to develop your body enough to do that. So flexibility and strength. So I would consider working out for a month and getting flexible for a month. Because sitting still, your bones start to settle into the joint sockets. Things start settling different the longer you sit. And so there's going to be adjustments that go on. And then also in your mind, in your psychology, things settle. And it's kind of like they can settle in a bad way. This is where mental health caution, I this is where I caution you, you know, and I'm not being prejudiced against mental health. I've had all kinds of mental health at different points in my life. You know, there are points where I was suicidal. There are points when I didn't have purpose. You know, there were all kinds of strange mental health and baggage. Baggage is one thing, mental health is another, and they usually go together. It's kind of a mixed bag. Um, but mental health, I would how I would separate baggage that's really hard to deal with, causing emotional and mental upheavals versus literally having mental health is even without the baggage, you're having problems. You're struggling. And this is weird because meditation can help. It can be the medicine. But at the exact same time, it can do the opposite. Because our bodies settle, our minds settle. And where are they settling? So when we ever, there's trenches in the ocean, there's ravines, there's crevices, there's dark unexplored territories. And you throw stuff into the ocean and it sinks, it goes down, 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 deeper and deeper and deeper, darker and darker places. Okay? We know that the pressure, the gravitational pressure, the force gets stronger and stronger the deeper and deeper you go down. And so going down and coming up, that's why uh, using nature as a metaphor can really explain some of the things that, you would need a science degree and years of testing to understand. It's like we need scuba gear and you need pressure valves and you need to learn how to hold your breath, like if you're going to do it without any gear. So deep sea diving is a thing, going down, learning how to, so you have to learn how to adjust your pressure. And if you come up too fast, you can die. If you come up too fast, it can cause serious problems. Same with meditation. You go down too fast, you come up, your body isn't accustomed to those pressures. Easing your way down and easing your way up, knowing yourself, knowing your body as the vehicle that you're taking, or the boat, or now we're talking about a freaking submarine because you want to do some deep diving. This is where we get into some serious trouble. You might be like, yeah, it sounds good on the surface, but then you might find out you're kind of claustrophobic when things start to intensify. And then you jump to conclusions, you get spooked, you call it supernatural stuff, Uh, you get weird and crazy, and things get distorted too. The lens gets distorted. Things can appear to be magnified. Things can also appear to be minimized, like time. Like you might sit down and go real deep, and it feels like only 5 minutes passed, and then you get up and it was an hour and a half. You know, well, so you have to be able to regulate your everyday surface world life. And then if you're diving deep, you have to learn how to manage that. So that's why it becomes dangerous. And some of the advanced meditators kill themselves. So this is like respect fire, you know. This is like respect your resources. People can drown in a cup of water. Okay? People can drown in a swimming pool. People can drown in an ocean. So we sometimes think, oh, a little is okay. People can burn a house down with one match. You know, it wasn't planned and premeditated. It was an accident. Accidents can happen when you're working with energy, even with stretching, even with any sport. Like, I think when we're young, we're like, but then after you've seen enough accidents, how many rock climbers die out rock climbing, uh, or people get lost in the forest. So, this is where knowing your limits, honoring your fear, understanding who you are and where you're at in your hero's journey is really important. So it's like, it's okay to start at the very beginning. It's okay to go slow. It's okay to take the long route. I personally like to go slow. I personally like to take the long route and the scenic view and really understand the terrain. And while that's happening, I'm gaining a lot of knowledge versus going really fast and getting to the end and going, I did it, I achieved it. And I'm like, yeah, but did you notice this? And so you grow and change and mature the more the more information you're taking in. Usually the more information, the slower you need to go to digest it. Then you actually have a deeper, richer, more profound experience. So traditionally, it takes 10 plus years to get your black belt. Okay. And if I was going to be honest, I would start that at 15 to 20 years. But modern culture wants to go real fast, and modern culture thinks they know everything and a big display of force, and then you get it. But there's many nuances. When you train your body for 15 to 20 years, it literally becomes a living weapon. But if you speed up the process and you do then it changes the weapon. It's not just like no one can make the old samurai swords the way they were made, okay? Cutting a piece of silk. We have new modern techniques, but some of the methods, the way it's made have been lost. And so those ancient swords can't be made the same. Modern technology can't do it. Just like, we haven't figured out how to build the pyramids. Modern technology can't do it. We can build some really cool stuff. We can hypothesize. And I would say time is part of the development process. It is the teacher. And so now that you know this, you don't have to set these unrealistic expectations. And now you can start to enjoy the process. So because now it's enjoyable, you're not going to be resisting it in your body. You're not going to be resisting it in your mind. And now that you know, seriously, take a lifetime to master meditation. Take a lifetime to master what it is you love. If you want to be a painter, it's going to take a lifetime. So why are artists become famous after they're dead? Traditionally, if they took a whole life to master their work, then it's masterful, and the energy's there, the power's in the brush strokes. No matter how many ink or pen or brush strokes there are, they're done in a way that can't be replicated. You can do the same technique, but what's missing is that 30 years of experience drawing that line, painting that line. What's missing is that 30 years of experience drawing that sword. It's confidence, but it's backed up through experience. And so so you can become a confident meditator with all that experience, and you have to go slow. So, and in a weird way, that's when you're like, you start progressing really fast. You kind of want to slow down. You're like, I want to read that book slower. I don't want it to end. Maybe I will stall. And so you might find yourself stalling in your practice in an unhealthy way. So maybe part of your failure to achieve your goal is because actually you're just wanting to savor the process. Like, how ridiculous is that? But it's actually very true. Like, people want to like slow down and preserve their life. And I think our whole culture needs to do that. So you can take in more information. You want to absorb it. So slowly eat your food, slowly digest it. If you really care, slow down. If you really like to drive, slow. Like, the speed rush is fine, but also going slow. People get mad at drivers going slow, and it's like they probably are really enjoying the experience. And it's through that experience that we gain wisdom and knowledge and that higher education that you don't get linearly by like just getting the information. Like, I know we're super hungry and we're like, just give it to me. Give me all this information and I want to do this. And then we get mad because our body isn't accustomed to breaking down this type of food. You have to learn. And so this is actually very insightful video on mastery of meditation. And and so you're now stepping into this meditative experience or whatever experience you'd like with, I would say, some humility, some honesty, uh, some practicality. And so that's where the humility comes in. Sober, there's a little sobriety here. We don't have these unrealistic goals, but at the exact same time, you can achieve all of them and more. And you're probably going to get to them faster because you've now entered the meditation dojo with this type of attitude, this type of awareness to begin with. So you didn't have to wait 3 weeks outside the monastery to be let in. We kind of speeded it up a little bit by pointing out the terrain. So now you can enter and enjoy your experience. And you can listen and listen to yourself, listen to the silence. And so this is a good kind of like really good on how to meditate. So you can like, subscribe, share. I've kind of been on the down low with my YouTube channel lately because we've taken a more spiritual, soulful turn. So I don't know how it's going, work in progress.